Sorry? Cash, yeah. Because that's the way to prove it to them.
Is it reform?
Yeah. I'm going to bet on reform, all right?
Brilliant.
That's what you said. Right. I'm giving the tenner. Now you smart asses at the pub. See that? Is that it?
Yeah, that's all good.
All right? Off we go. Next UK general election, Reform UK, 9 to 4. I'm going to put, if I put a tenner on, so I'll have to work out what I'm going to get back if we win. Yeah? Yeah. Right, folks. If you're anything like me, you're fed up with the government. Whether it's Labour, Conservative, potentially Lib Dem, they're all out to screw us as far as I'm concerned. Excuse the phraseology, but you know what I mean. The taxes have never been higher. The regulations they're bringing in are crucifying businesses and people. I'm reckoning that since the last election, I could easily be £1,000 worse off. And I'm thinking most people will be, whether it's their car, council tax, general taxation. It's got to stop. So I suddenly woke up the other day and I thought, how can we get the government out? How can we stop suffering for another 4 years? Why wait for 4 years? If you've got to fix the roof, you don't wait for 4 years. You want to get the tiles replaced, stop the water coming in. So basically what I've done today, I'm hoping to show all of you, or especially the people that vote for or wanting to see reform, but certainly the other parties too, because if they're genuine about serving the public, they want Labour out as quick as possible. And they wouldn't want to wait 4 years either. So I went to the bookies. And here's what I did. I found out that the bookies, a bookie in Kingswood in Bristol, were offering 9 to 4. In other words, if I put £4 on, I get £9 back. So I've speculated a tenner. I haven't worked out what I'll win. But the main point is not to just win the bet. The fact is I want everybody to think whether they're losing a lot of money with Labour in, and whether they want Labour out as quick as possible, say within months if we got down to it, certainly the year. What if we could take the odds down on reform at the bookmakers to such an extent that reform was odds on? I got 9 to 4 today in Kingswood. Now that means that what I win, if I get reform to win for me, I win too, because I'm going to vote for them. And if everybody else did the same, went to a bookie and put just a tenner on, the odds will start to fall on reform and go shorter than any of the other parties, which will mean the bookies are saying reform will win. But it's more than that. What we'd be doing is we would say to all the MPs in Parliament, all the other parties, you're on a loser. You won't be in for long. I would say that if we shorten the odds on reform to odds on and greater odds on, I'll just tell you one little snippet. In history, the shortest odds have ever been 33 to 1 on. That means you'd have to put £33 on to win £1. Now, if we, the voters, showed the government that we'd even taken it past that as a historical fact, supposing we got 40 to 1 on, that would be the most historic payout the bookies would, and then they would start to show, the bookies would know, the more bets they took, the more they'd lose on reform. And they would actually start to show us that not only are we right in the polls, the public polling, people are saying we'll vote reform, the membership's growing, donations are coming in for reform, and they're falling for the other parties. Now, if we pile the pressure on at the bookies, who are the most democratic, accountable people in the country. They don't give odds if they don't believe it to be true. Nobody can distort it. Nobody can put a bet on Labour to try and get the odds up, because the bookies would see through it and they would know that Reform are the leaders in betting. So, shall we do this together? Shall we say to Nigel, we're right behind you. We're not for the first time putting our money where our mouth is, because we'd rather spend a tenner to save £1,000 or even a fraction of £1,000 if they were to get in and help to reduce taxation, give us more opportunity, change all the rules, start to make jobs pay and people to employ people. If they did that, over the next if we could shorten it to, say, maybe a year instead of 4 years, we've got maybe £1,000 to save. Instead of Labour being in, we would have a Reform government that would want to do the job properly, because they would want to get in again. So, shall we do it? Shall we all go to the bookies, one at a time in our own time, not causing a fuss, gradually reducing the betting odds? And bear in mind, it's not the win at the bookies we're after, it's a win to get Labour out. Because Nigel could stand up in Parliament and say, look at all this evidence. You're not wanted anymore. You're an illegal operation. You're a corrupt operation. You're going against the public wish, against the businesses of the UK. Yesterday I heard that Rolls-Royce are going to America because they can't be competitive here. The latest twist of the screw from Labour, especially in this spring update or whatever you call it, Rachel Reeves has put out today. If we go on like this for another 4 years, we'll all be crucified. We'll be poorer than ever. So please think about betting this time for Reform in cash at the bookies, and you potentially win both ways. You win at the bookies, you win at the polls. And if we're going to bet on Reform, you can bet we're going to vote Reform. And with a majority in the House of Commons, we won't have to put up with any of this more, well, illegal immigration coming in by the million. You know the score. I don't want to go through politics. You know what's happening. And I know how you feel. I'm worried about our kids, not just about us old fogies. We can do it. The 25 to 30-year-olds are on board with Nigel. Anybody that goes against Nigel thinking he's being up himself or abrasive, being dictatorial, they've got to get the bigger picture in their head. He's got to stick to his guns. If people try to disrupt him and try to force him into an argument publicly, he can't go in that direction. He's got to stick to his guns, know the people are behind him, get into power, and then we can talk about whether he's good at his job, whether we want another leader. But the main thing is, we've got to get into power. We can't do anything otherwise. I don't want to have Labour in. I don't want to have Conservatives or Lib Dems. They're all globalists. They want a United Nations to succeed and get a global government. The EU rather, have announced that in October they're going to go for a central bank digital currency. We need to act in months preferably. Pile the pressure on. Make the King, Charles III, likely to say to the government, to the Prime Minister, have you seen the polling? Have you seen the odds dropping at the bookies? You have no legitimacy. I advise you to think clearly about your policies or resign. Let's do it. Just to conclude what I was saying earlier on about the concept of us using it as a sort of a revolutionary move to get everybody to bet on Reform. The way I look at it is now's the time to bet on Reform, to get a win on Reform, to cut the costs out of our lives that Labour has put on us. We've got to get Labour out as quickly as possible and I think this will be the way to go. So, I'm not wearing my heart on my sleeve, I'm wearing it on my chest. These t-shirts are cheap, but get to the bookers if you can, and let's